Whether you're starting your morning, winding down at night, or just taking a thoughtful pause somewhere in the middle of a busy day, I'm glad you're here. Let's take a few minutes to think through something that deserves more than a quick scroll. Today's quote is attributed to Arthur Schopenhauer, and it goes like this: "Talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see." Now, unlike some of the quotes we've looked at before, this one is very much connected to Schopenhauer's own writing. It's a paraphrase of a passage from his major work, The World as Will and Representation, published in the early 19th century. Schopenhauer had a particular fascination with the difference between talent and genius, especially in art and philosophy. He believed they were not just different in degree, but different in kind. And here's something interesting about him. During much of his life, he wasn't exactly celebrated. In fact, his lectures were once scheduled at the same time as Hegel's in Berlin, a philosopher who was wildly popular at the time, and almost no one showed up to Schopenhauer's. He spent years writing and thinking in relative obscurity. Recognition came much later. There's something quietly fitting about that. A man writing about genius, being able to see what others cannot, and not being widely understood in his own lifetime. So what is this quote actually saying? On the surface, it draws a clean contrast. Talent is skill, precision, mastery. It's the ability to do something at a level most people can't reach. Genius, according to Schopenhauer, is something else entirely. It's vision, it's perception. It's the ability to recognize a target that other people don't even know exists. That's a powerful distinction. Talent operates within the visible world. Genius expands it. Now let's slow down for a moment, because this is where it gets interesting. We tend to blur those two ideas. We see someone highly skilled, and we call them a genius. Sometimes we're right. Sometimes we're just impressed. But think about it. A talented musician can execute a piece flawlessly. A genius composer imagines a sound that hasn't existed before. A talented entrepreneur builds an excellent version of a proven model. A genius sees a need no one has articulated yet. It's not just about being better. It's about seeing differently. And here's where the realism comes in. Most of us spend our lives developing talent. We practice, we refine, we improve. That's honorable work. It takes discipline and patience. Talent is not trivial, but genius, at least in Schopenhauer's view, often comes with isolation. Because seeing what others cannot see means you're often alone in that vision for a while. That's not glamorous. It's not always celebrated. Sometimes it's dismissed, which brings us back to something practical. You don't have to be a historical genius to apply this idea, but you can ask yourself a simple question. Am I only trying to hit visible targets? Or am I occasionally stepping back and asking whether there's something no one else has noticed yet? That applies to creative work, to leadership, to problem solving, even to personal growth. Sometimes we're so focused on executing well that we forget to question whether we're aiming at the right thing. Schopenhauer believed that genius involved a kind of heightened perception, an ability to detach from ordinary concerns and observe the world more deeply. Whether or not we agree with all of his philosophy, and he was known for a rather pessimistic outlook on human desire, this distinction still resonates. It reminds us that innovation begins with attention, and attention is something we can practice. You may not suddenly see invisible targets tomorrow, but you can cultivate the habit of stepping back, of asking different questions, of resisting the urge to assume that the obvious goal is the only goal. Because here's the quiet truth. Most breakthroughs don't start with better execution. They start with a better question. Talent refines the known. Genius reframes it. And maybe the real takeaway isn't about labeling people as talented or genius. Maybe it's about reminding ourselves that vision matters just as much as skill, and that sometimes, before we aim, we should pause and ask whether we're aiming at the right thing in the first place. That kind of reflection won't make headlines. It won't guarantee greatness, but it sharpens awareness, and awareness has a way of changing direction. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me here at the Quotive Corner. If this reflection sparked something worth sitting with, share it with someone who appreciates thoughtful ideas. And remember, wisdom isn't in the quote, it's in the reflection. I'll see you next time.